Greetings to you. I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation. This is a good topic for you guys because this is a point of frustration for many, many, many men. And when I get into this, you'll understand why. You could do me a favor and subscribe. You could like the video after you hear it. I think you'll like it a lot. This is how to create a happy sexual marriage without drama. And this is specifically for men. There's another one for women. Well, let me start by telling you that we men and women have been so misdirected when it comes to sexuality in our lives that it's like a different planet, especially now that you're married. And I don't care how long you've been married. Now that you're married, it changes everything. It is quite unfortunate, and I'm not going to do a lot of editorializing, but it's quite unfortunate that we were not brought up with a sense of one man, one woman for the rest of our lives. And that may sound puritanical, but the fact is this. When there are moral restrictions in our lives, they are not imposed upon us. You know, it's a shame almost that they're called commandments. It's more of a shame that we're told if we break them, we're going to spend the rest of eternity in hell. God is a loving God, and the proof is all around us. And so these commandments should be called real good suggestions, because when we break the moral codes, it's like driving off of the highway. It's like off-roading with a Cadillac. Now here is the problem that we really run into. We all watched television growing up. We listened to the radio, the music. Everything in this world is highly sexualized, not highly lovingized. We're taught about sex as if it's an ultimate experience unto itself. And it is kind of in the realm that we would think of as physical, as material. So when we have the physical experience of sex, and we have an orgasm, our body is like, wow, this is amazing. This is so pleasing to the body, and psychologically as well. And the reason why is because even though we're human beings, we're souls, we have this physiological material body. And you could call it a throwback to the animal life of the body, because the body is an animal body. We're not animals. Let's be really clear. We're souls. We're human beings. But our body is an animal body, and you can't argue that. As such, it is driven, compelled to do whatever it can for, and you learned this already in grade school, for survival. First, individually, I have to survive. I'll do anything I have to, so I have air. If someone tries to stop you from breathing, you're going to kill them. I have to have water. You'll do anything you have to get water. You have to have food. These are imperatives for the body. Now we know that there are people who transcend the bodily demands, and I'm going to talk about, like, if you're Jewish, Christian, or Hindu, or Muslim, it really doesn't matter. There are those who have proven that they could live without food. They fast. There's even those, and you could Google this yourself, who live without breathing. There's people who could live without their heart beating. These are called yogis. And even though they're in the East, I know that there are Christian saints as well who have been found sitting there. People thought they were dead, but they weren't. They were in a high state of ecstasy, which proves that we don't need to try for that, but we could live without water, air, and even a heartbeat, and even a breath. The breath stops. Read St. Teresa of Avila. Why is this important? Because there's a distinction between the body and the mind and you, the soul. Now, who got married to your wife? It was you, the soul. Once in a while something intelligent slips in, like soulmate, because you're souls. Where did you experience that love? Here, up in the mind, in the body? Yeah, the body was stimulated by her, the mind was encouraged by her, but that real deal was in your heart. You, the soul, are connected. The word marriage means union. You're connected soul to soul. And then we're taught, oh no, did you bone her? How was it? How did she feel? Did she like you? Do you have the right size equipment? All of that nonsense. Nonsense because you can't build on it. Your soulmate, so it's like a different world, the body. The sexual world is different from the soul world. And how do you create a happy sexual marriage without drama? That's the question, right? What you do, it's gonna sound, like it's beating around the bush or hitting it from the other side, and it is. But you have to start seeing your wife as love. You have to build upon that love. You have to cultivate the devotion that you have for your wife to the point of where her soul is starting to feel the connection of your soul. And it comes in stages. Because when you do things, and it's not about doing, it's about changing yourself. And you would find that to be true if you take the course for men. And this is not a sales pitch, I'm just saying I get into things much deeper. But the point is this. In order for you to experience sex as it's meant to be experienced by a human being, by a soul, you have to become that love that was the catalyst for you marrying her in the first place. Now, before I editorialized and I said, it's a shame that we've been deluged with all of this wrong information about sex. And it is a shame because now we have to bring ourselves into a different place. And we have to recognize our wives differently. And instead of going, wow, she still turns me on, I'm really into her, which means she still turns me on physically, you gotta shift and not pay attention to that stuff so much, but get into the love. When you get into how much you love her, and you got to do it first in your own consciousness. Oh, I'm in love with her. I love her. Not I want to bone her. I love her. I love her. And let that love build. She'll feel it. And the big difference between men and women, besides genitalia, of course, is that women are super intuitive. Men reason, women feel. And so what happens is she will start to feel your love for her, and that is a strong pull for her. It's like a magnet. And you will see that what I'm saying is true. It takes a lot of work though, because we literally have to change our consciousness from what we learned growing up. It's a shame. I had to go through this too, just so you know. And it was a long path for me, because when I started the Marriage Foundation, I was a divorce mediator. I knew nothing about marriage. Fortunately, I wasn't into this whole Western psychology thing. And so I approached it very differently. I approached marriage from the perspective of, what is it that we want? Why did we get married in the first place? Very business, analytical process of Why do I want to get married? How do I achieve the goals that I've set myself? And so no one ever thinks of that. I never thought before I got married the first time, I never thought, well, do I really want to get married? Why? Never thought of that. Just was something you did. When I started to ask the question, why do we get married? It wasn't like an obvious answer. I'm going to tell you what the answer is because it's universal. There's two parts. Number one, we want to be happy, duh. Number two, we want to experience that love that I've been talking about. It is transcendental. I consider marriage a spiritual path because love is spiritual. It's not of the mind. It's of you, the soul. When you start getting it and you start focusing your attention on developing your marriage with those parameters, everything changes. Why? Now I'm going to tell you straight out. Because God wants us to be happy. He wants us to be so filled with joy that we're drunk. He does. He's our Father. He totally loves us. He doesn't want you to be miserable. He doesn't want you to suffer through your marriage. He wants you to have an amazing marriage because marriage in itself, it's an ideal venue. You can't do this anywhere else. It's an ideal venue to give unconditional love. You can't do that anywhere else in the world. Now, when you're a parent, you could give it to your kids, but it's just not the same because it's imposed upon us. But when you're with your wife, you could learn to love her unconditionally. That's where it all begins. So love and happiness, and they're tied together. And then it's also a spiritual path. I don't know if you know much about spiritual path, where we have to kind of cleanse our mind of the debris of nonsense, the defensiveness, the arrogance, the being worried about this, worried about that, getting angry, all that stuff's got to go. At least within the context of your marriage. I call it the sacred space of marriage. So that's what it's all about. You want great sex? Trust me. It's not something that you can find in the outer realm. It's nothing compared to what you could find by learning to love your wife unconditionally. And I'm going to close with that. I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. Now you could like this video. If you stayed with me, you're going to benefit like crazy. Subscribe to the channel because all of my stuff is way beyond the norm. God bless you and take care. And leave a comment if you want. And don't leave a stupid comment like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Leave a question. Go deeper with this. I've been doing this for a quarter of a century. We have a team of TMF-trained marriage counselors who align with these principles. It's going to change your life. God bless you and take care. Thanks.